paying my student loan off, I felt kind of like a fool for doing it now that everybody's getting theirs paid. But not that I'm mad, because I think that there's way too much student debt out there. We need to knock it down a bit, but... Lulu's like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Lulu?
Hey, we on? Can you hear me? Neil?
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
Action.
We on? Yep, we're here. Well, I would like to, number one, give great gratitude for the three of us being able to get together. Because from my perspective, it was like having a congressional congress in the summertime to where all of the politicians wanted to go away from Congress, and and they had a life. And for us to get together has been amazing to me. So I want to thank you guys. And I also want to be in extreme gratitude for the fact that we have the opportunity to get together and to really speak about things that can and will and do make a difference. And what I would like to do is I would like each of you to introduce yourself. And in that introduction, I'd like you to be able to just maybe give a minute or two about who you are, what you're doing, and maybe the reason why you believe it's important for our three of our energies to get together and to absolutely do something. So, want to go first?
Sure, yeah. My name is Neil McIntyre. What I do is make developmentally appropriate hip-hop music for kids and families. Mostly beatboxing and silly old-school songs, but I've been lucky enough to do this for about 20 years now, and moving to Hawaii, I really had this intention of wanting to help connect with the local kids. There's so much talent here in the islands, and there's so much ability, and I think a lot of times what we just lack is mentors or proper role models. Speaking to Lulu over there, barking a little too much. Yeah, who is that? Yeah, that's Tallulah, our puppy. She's a little too excited to meet the kitten over here. But, yeah, you know, and, you know, I've been excited to work with Randyl because you host the Avocado Fest and the Mango Fest and the Macadamia Nut Fest and the Coconut Fest. And, you know, one of my big missions in life is just try to get kids to eat better, to think about what we eat and how we take care of ourselves. They say that diet is the number one cause of mortality in America right now. You know, and it's not just heart disease or, you know, your liver or your, you know, your innards, your organs. It's your brain. It's your skin. It's the melanoma that you get because you're not eating properly. It's the, you know, the million different ways that it can affect us. You know, it's funny, too, because I used to be kind of naive to it, but you realize later after you start working with young people long enough, there are people out there with the mission trying to poison the youth, you know? Sometimes I think I'd be terrified to be a parent because you see how many people out there are trying to horribly corrupt your kid in so many different ways. All you got to do is walk into a local convenience store and take a look around, and all you're going to see is sugar and processed meat and pornography and potentially some glass pipes in the counter and, you know what I mean, the lottery ticket that you could buy. Like every choice around you, you are surrounded by bad choices. And I just don't think it's fair for some kids that we shame them later when they're overweight or they're unhealthy. You
got that right.
Or we say, oh, it's your fault, or you should have eaten better, or, you know, you should have exercised more. Like, no, that ain't your mom's taking you to McDonald's before work every single day. You know, every single day before school you go to McDonald's. It's not about how much you exercise. Think about this. Think about how many schools across Hawaii Ronald McDonald is going to be performing in today. Today alone. He's probably in 10 schools on 6 different islands. Yeah, because, McDonald's offers free programming for kids. And almost every elementary school in America is like, sure. We have no money. We need something. So Ronald comes in and clowns around and teaches your kid how to eat hamburgers.
And I love the way you said it. You said free programming, not programs, because it is a program. And the thing is that they've got the Ronald McDonald House for all of these poor kids that get cancer and liver disease and all of these other things, and they're the ones who actually caused it.
Right.
And
later they can pretend like they cared. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what you're doing is incredible, and I so honor the fact that you're hanging in there and you've been doing it for decades.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Not because I'm making a fortune.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was one of the things in the very beginning you realize, like, hey, you can make a fortune if you work for Pepsi Cola and you sell sugary snacks to kids. But if you want to go the right road and do the long, hard, right path in life, it's never going to be quick and easy. You're not going to be an overnight success. I was naive, actually. I thought a lot more people were into trying to help young people or be an advocate for them. And actually, what we see kids as is the ultimate consumer. America's economy is driven by the insecurities of children. You can't get an adult. You can't convince an adult what to do or what to purchase or how to believe, but you can convince a kid pretty quick and pretty easy. And I remember being that kid running into my dad's room like, oh, man, I saw a TV commercial for X, Y, and Z, and I got to have these shoes. And,
and the other thing is that the industry, the programs, they influence the child. And it's just like Neil said, you run into your parents and you go, wow, I got to have those Nike shoes. I mean, they're only $125.
Yeah.
And the parent is going, wow, that's a lot of money. And the kid is just heartbroken because they can't have those Nike shoes. And it's amazing to me. Yeah, well,
oh my God, I bet.
Yeah, well, as you said, Neil, it's this way. It's like the programming goes to the most malleable minds.
The easiest, yeah.
Right, and those malleable minds pick up on it, and then they influence the adults. And the adults are the ones with the money, but the children are the ones with the influence.
Well, that's where culture comes into play.
Youth-obsessed culture,
Yeah. Neil, you said it perfectly. It's programming. We're all programmed for something, or
no doubt,
or whatever. Yet the bottom line is what's beautiful about Erin, and I'm gonna say something, is that Erin fell in love with a lovely woman, and she had 2 beautiful boys. And how old are they now?
Almost 6. I mean, almost 7 for Easy, and Ari is 5.
Yeah, and you are doing such a remarkable job with those boys, because anyone who has had children, especially at that age, they need attention, acceptance, approval, and affection. And you've really got that down, and you amaze me, because I went through the same thing. I had stepsons, but they were 10 and 13. And I went through a period to where, and I'm not going to project onto you what I felt, but what I'm going to say is that there's a part of your consciousness, I call it my reptilian brain, that says, well, these children really aren't mine, but I love their mother, and I've got to learn how to love these children like their mom would love them. And I know I'm not a female and I'll never be a mother, but it was really difficult for me to project that. And I observe you, Erin, and you're amazing at what you do. I mean, simply amazing. I'm in awe. And those boys, and I can tell one thing, that they not only respect you, but they love you.
They definitely do.
Because they feel the love that you have for their mother and for them. And also your phenomenal patience. I mean, you blow my mind, man.
I was just telling Mr. Neal over here that sometimes I'll argue with them like I'm a kid too. And in those moments, I have to remember that the challenge of actually regulating your feelings and emotions and being present in a moment is actually more challenging.
Yeah, I'd like you to get the frankincense and also that poster and also that shirt because I wanted to.
You know, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and we were talking about the roles of males and females. But ultimately, I think the most important point that I'm trying to make is it's 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 not essential that we fit into roles anymore, because ultimately, if we start to categorize things the way we used to do in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and we're not the same type of categories anymore. You can't look at somebody and say that person is a scientist and that's all they are. When they go home, they'll eat their food and do their thing, but they're a scientist at heart. That person has hobbies and they have a family. You have to realize the context for that, and that's just how my experiences in my life brought me to a different place and many similarities that we can connect on. But I really appreciate you for seeing me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful thing for men to step up to that plate because from my perspective, it takes a lot of courage, to be able to love somebody enough so that you can love someone that is not your seed. That's
Oh yeah.
that's intense, man. I mean, really intense.
Well, actually, I was thinking about it today, and I kind of feel incredibly blessed with the circumstances that we have, to where I have, the full attention of my boys, and their dad is in another state, to where, we're not fighting over custody right now.
Right. Yeah, that's crucial.
I would love for him to be more involved in one way or another, but that's
But
his
that void
own
provides
choice.
an opportunity for you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I'm just saying, I'm just recognizing the importance of stepping up to the plate where it is right now, and when and should those circumstances change, that's where the value will be recognized in a different way. But at least I can see that challenge is there for me to step up to the plate and see and recognize
Yeah,
and be a part of at this moment.
yeah. Well, and also, you want to give our viewing audience in regards to who you are and what you do besides being an awesome father?
Well, uh, so my name's Aaron Lanuza. For all those people who don't know me, but I'm a videographer here on the Big Island, and I love to produce a lot of content, including interviews. That's my favorite type of content. I was a journalist back on the mainland at one point for a couple of years, and I was transitioning out of a job and came here to the Big Island, and now I'm in videography. And I just think that there are so many stories to tell. So one of the most valuable things is to share that in a way that is vulnerable, and that's why I think these types of conversations are so important. So I'm producing this right now, but for the better for us to share on Hawaiian Wellness and recognize the value of the conversation in context to how each of us is kind of a benefactor to the island.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to your journalism, who did you work for? Was it a newspaper or?
Well, I did some internships, and then I worked at KHTS hometown station in Santa Clarita for a couple of years.
I mean, it's a television station?
It's a radio station.
A radio
Right.
station.
They did podcasts too, and they did interviews. They had their own radio station and online presence as well. So they had videos that went up on Facebook. We did live broadcasts for emergency situations or openings or just news broadcasts.
Very
So
cool.
it was really all encompassing when it came to journalism. Yeah, Jerry and Carl, they both own they're married, yeah, and they both own the radio station together, and they do a great job of creating like an enterprise out of it, but just making it work in itself is an art form. So I truly hold value to them because they just created an editorial recently where they are recognizing the value of understanding what they are as a whether or not they're left leaning or right leaning, but they try to share from where they believe that true news is supposed to come from.
Well, which reminds me is that we also have a low power FM radio station.
Yeah.
Which we're going to put this podcast on, and it will be broadcast all over Kona. It's LPFM, which means low power FM, and then also we are on the World Wide Web. And if you could do us another favor, and you could get us that cap that's sitting in the living room on the left-hand side.
What a great opportunity to be part of the culture of the community too, to create the culture in the community.
And these caps are 100% recycled.
That's cool.
Because I want to keep that up. I mean, we need to learn that if we're going to buy something, let's try to do that concept of reduce, reuse, recycle. This is 100% recycle, and as you can, I think they're really cool because they're embroidered, which is sweet, and we have been in business. This is going on the 8th year, and we are broadcasting from our home, which is on the north side of Kona. It's above the airport, and we used to have our antenna and our transmitter here, but it wouldn't cover all of Kona.
Right.
So we moved it, and now the transmitter and our antenna are above Kona, and we get all the way to the airport up to Hanalo, and even more sometimes.
Wow.
So that is excellent. And what we're attempting to do is we want to be like listener-supported radio. We want our listeners to say, hey, man, we want to support you. It's very similar to what HPR does. I mean, every quarter they will do a fundraiser or stuff, and we'd like to be able to just be in that realm and say, if you can, just pledge something per month, we'll give you one of these really cool caps.
And then you're free for advertisers, right? And you don't have people trying to influence you to do certain programming or say certain things or whatever problematic things might arise from advertisers. And I think it's really nice that way we can provide the service that the people want. We can give them the station that they want to hear, right?
You got that right, Neil.
The music, the programming, all that stuff. And we have to pay for those things. Otherwise, we won't receive them. We get all these free things on the internet. I'll tell you what, if you're getting something for free on the internet, you don't want it. There's a price to pay. Nothing is free, right? There's no free lunches. And so, I know I still support the community radio station in Colorado from where I used to live. Over 5 years, I haven't been there, but I still support that station every month because it's important to me. Because I know that that's an important cultural part of where I'm from. They have one of the oldest radio hip-hop shows and one of the oldest reggae shows, and those kind of things are happening and are possible because of listener-supported funds. So we gotta put our money where our mouth is. Honestly, our vote hardly means anything anymore. Our true voice is how we spend our money. If we all want to go to Walmart and support the Walmart family, the Waltons or whatever, then we will, and then they'll be the ones that survive, and we'll be their slaves. Or we can support local businesses. We can find people here that we. Isn't that great? That's one great thing about being on an island too. You can really see the effect of your dollar, and you can see all the great places that have come and gone, even in the little half a decade that I've been here.
Absolutely.
And the places that we hold on to and cherish dearly, and the support that they deserve.
Yeah. You can't do it all, but you can help with your dollar in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And also the idea and the ideal of what we're attempting to do. We have a nonprofit organization called the Sanctuary of Mauna Kea Gardens, and it translates as, it's not Mauna Kea, it's Mauna Kea. And Mauna Kea, Mana is spirit, Kea is the cross piece to a double hull canoe. So we translate it as crossroads to the spirit garden. And human beings, human beings are the crossroads between earth and heaven. We're the rainbows. And those rainbows, what they do is that they emanate from the earth, go all the way up to the heavens, get that mana, and bring it back down. And we have to remember that. And the things that helps me remember is Neil is doing this cool thing with his feet with the frankincense. And the frankincense helps me remember that I'm not just a physical being having an occasional spiritual experience. I am a spiritual being having a physical experience. So I can remember that and do the cool things that spirit is allowing me to co-create. And we're all co-creators. And we must remember that. We've got to remember we really need to step back and let the universe bring to us what she's going to bring. And she brings stuff to us all the time. And I studied to be a psychologist. I really loved Jungian philosophy in regards to synchronicity.
Oh, Carl Jung is the best, yeah.
Yeah, and he said that synchronicity happens all the time. And then Deepak Chopra took it one step further and said that, they do happen. And then you have these choice points. And every choice point, if you're conscious of that, you can say, I want to do this or I don't want to do that. And what that becomes is your synchro destiny. And you become a co-creator.
Yeah, I think it's in every action in development of yourself.
Yeah.
That ultimately builds the version of yourself that you would hope to see, or the better version of yourself.
Yes.
And while we do that, you're only offering that same energy to the people around you. And it only makes sense to build ourselves up while we're building other people up.
Yep. Well, that's what we're here for. It's if I can be of service to you, that is my stairway to heaven. And I think it's really funny that it's a stairway to heaven and a highway to hell, I mean
That is ironic, yeah. You need a vehicle to get to hell.
And there's plenty of vehicles out there.
Free rides all the time, every day.
That's right, the devil got them, And, but, and then also our Hawaiian Wellness is something that from the perspective of attempting to be healthy, I really feel and know, because I've been on this island and the islands for quite a while, that if I'm going to be healthy, just like what we have, I mean, this is a smoothie, right? This smoothie, I grew the pineapples and I grew the papayas. I did. This is from the land. And you live on a farm. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to have that ability to go outside and to pick some fruit. You don't have to go to the store and pay money. You got to, do a little bit of labor of love for it.
Sure.
But she gives back to you.
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you, it will mess with your head, too. I love when people are like, these are my tangelos. I grew these. Like, no, you didn't grow them. You just watered the tree. You know what I mean? Like, no. We're at a friend's house one time, and she's like, if you want to pick any of my oranges, you can have them. And we're like, well, doesn't somebody else own this land? I think that's his tree. No. She's like, this is my tree. I grew these oranges. And I think that there is something like about that. Well, think about this. You go and you see all those inappropriate snacks at the convenience store, and they're all fruit flavors, right? You got your strawberry flavored candy and your watermelon flavored candy, your mango flavored candy. Like, whatever happened to just strawberries and mangoes and going right to the source? We don't need a chemical reproduction of the flavor of these things. And you know what? That's what's so great about Big Island too. Is you go and talk to kids about eating right and living on a farm and fruit and vegetables, and they're right there in the middle of it. You know, I was at Hono now not too long ago talking to those kids, and they all grow their own food. They're already familiar with the fruits and the vegetables from the Ina, and they're already not spraying, and they're protecting the bumblebee, and they're already protecting the honeybee, and looking out for the monarch butterfly, and you know all the things that other kids on the mainland need to be taught or introduced to. Like, it's already commonplace here.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, my mom told me every plant in the world can grow somewhere on Big Island, you know. So pretty much every fruit, every vegetable, everything in the entire world can grow somewhere. The climate exists somewhere on this island. We just got to find the right spot. And I think open our imaginations a little bit too as to what we're growing and what it seems like everyone wants to grow coffee or avocados. It's like, well, there's a million other options. There's a million other possibilities under the sun of what people could be harvesting and
infinite, man. Yeah.
Infinite, and we would never need for anything from the mainland. I love when people are like, there's only 6 days worth of food on this island and we're all going to starve. It's like, you're obviously not paying much attention.
Right.
You know, there's Costco has 6 days worth of stuff, but there's plenty of food to provide for 500,000 people that we don't even have, you know.
It's presence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's abundance is all around us, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
Well, what's also unique about that is living on this island, and Neil was talking about, well, you know, we got 6 days of food, and yet we just had some incredible food right here, and didn't have to go shopping for it, or didn't have to go to Costco.
But you invested time into it.
And well,
Sure.
yeah, but the time. I mean,
That pool fi is going in there too. Yeah, little heart.
Well, yeah, but the you know that pool vi, that heart space, right, goes out and you get something. I mean, it's not like you're driving on a freeway to go to work, and then you got to drive back for another hour, and then you go home and you watch Netflix and crash out, and you hardly even know your family. They hardly even know you. That's but you see, that's the cool thing about living on an island. I mean, as I said, we are so lucky to be here. So lucky. And I every morning I wake up, I just go, wow, thank you. Thank you for letting me wake up. And I look out my window and I watch the mangoes and the avocados grow, man.
That's where the presence and the recognition in mind is so important.
And speaking of, that's one of the things that I wanted to do, is that I wanted to plug my festivals. So I wanted to give you this, and that's for Aaron. And I'd like you to open it up so people see what's on it. This is from the Mango Festival, and the artwork is so incredible that I had to have it done on an organic cotton t-shirt.
Wow, that looks...
Yeah, it's really soft.
That is a beautiful shirt. I'm definitely... See, this right here has officially become one of my favorite shirts that I own now.
That's
This
awesome.
is beautiful. I love it.
Awesome.
And it's
Beautiful.
like the color of a mango.
Yeah,
I
well,
love it.
It really is.
It's like a
so
mango
cool.
lassi, you know? It's very cool. And then we have coming up, hold that, it's called Going Nuts for the Holidays Festival, and it features mac nuts and coconuts.
Right?
And I just thought it was really cool because it's an awesome way to be able to show. You gotta leave it like that, you know. Actually, I didn't know whether to put it on the front or the back, but anyway,
It's a good idea for it to be on the back.
Yeah. But anyway, it looks really good. The color looks good.
I want people to remember my face, not think about the shirt the whole time.
Yeah, well.
And I'm going to be wearing
come
this shirt a
on,
lot.
I mean, you know.
Remember this face.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the Go Nuts Festival.
No, that'll be last November 5th.
November 5th. It's a Saturday. All of our festivals are free, by the way, and the only way that we can afford it is through vendors. So I would like people that have island goods, arts, crafts, food, whatever, to get in touch with us, and we would love to be able to accommodate you and to have something that brings out the spirit of why we live on the Big Island. And we do the Avocado Festival usually in February. We do the Mango Festival usually in the summertime. And we do the Going Nuts for the Holidays during the holidays. The next one we're working on, which I'm so thrilled about because I definitely want you guys involved in it, it's going to be a stimulus for wellness and for our economy. And
Nice stimulus. Yeah, we can use that.
yeah. And it's going to be at Hale Halavai once again, which is downtown. So the cool thing about Hale Halavai is that we're going to get 1,000 to 1,500 people just walking downtown that want to like say, "Wow, what's going on? What's happening?" But this one, I got a really cool website, and it's called Mana Festival. And
Mana Festival. Okay. Yeah.
and so I want to get the county behind it. I put in a proposal to the mayor in regards to seeing how much skin the county is willing to put in this. But I think it's time. I think it's important that the county supports these things, and all of our, as I said, they're free. We have entertainment all day long. We've got agricultural presentations, and the coolest thing about it that I see is that you can come to these festivals and you can really experience what the Big Island agriculturally is all about, because she just keeps on giving. And,
Oh, yeah.
And mac nuts and coconuts are not usually seasonal like mangoes and avocados. So I just wanted to do something for the holidays. And I thought it'd be very, very cool to go nuts for the holidays.
That'd be cool to see you there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you do a little bit of comedy. You do performance-wise
Yeah.
a lot of educational things too. But I really love the way that you are able to encapsulate the many different things that you're into, and then value that in the
thanks, sir.
same realm.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a fan first, and so it's all about trying to encourage the kids to do something great, but hopefully give parents and kids something that they can enjoy together, not something that's just dumbed down for children. Unfortunately, we have a lot of like little toddler music in America, and then we have nothing for elementary age kids. Basically, elementary age kids are turned loose on the pop market, and all the pop songs teach them all the things that we were just talking about, all the cultural oddities of being American that we don't really need to celebrate. And I think that if we could just give kids something that can help build their self-esteem a little bit, help them find their way through the world, and do it with a little joy and laughter, but also get them asking the right questions and thinking critically at a young age. I think that's so important. I think kids are already doing it. They want these kind of resources. They just don't have enough of it.
That's why I think it's so awesome to see you guys together. I mean, I'm glad that I'm here too and recording this, but it's so cool to see somebody who has so much vision in your perspective, creating these festivals and thinking about the agriculture and building community and networking and recognizing the importance of everybody in their own arenas. And then Neil, your education and the idea for you to have this like sustainable lifestyle where you're not forcing yourself to work so hard that you're working for a paycheck or trying to become rich, but you're loving what you're doing.
Right.
You're giving back to the community. You're doing something that you love.
Sure.
And you're kind of in this headspace where it's like you have the mana, like the energy flowing through you in a way. Where I've seen you doing comedy before, and where some people would kind of verge and just try to do something, more for adults because you're around adults. You're just kind of building yourself up as a presence within what you're doing.
Sure.
That is
trying
awesome.
to bring out the kid in everybody, right? We're all a kid somewhere. And I think, we can take ourselves serious without taking ourselves too seriously. And I think that, yeah, man, life's hard enough. It really is. It's amazing how hard we make it on ourselves in addition to everything else. You know, it's like young people trying to find their way through the world. They need some love and support, man. I'll tell you what, it's tough. And you're not getting a lot of that from the popular media. And, I mean, I've had television executives in California tell me it's their job to make little girls feel insecure all day. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, that's how we make our money. When the commercial ad comes on, then kids buy things because they feel insecure because of the programming that we've created. And, you know, like to me, it's like, well, you know what? I've been that kid who didn't feel very good about himself and was willing to try to buy something to fill that void. And I think that it's funny when you said before, it's hard to deny your kid anything. I really do feel that. I think when I was young and I was poor, my dad could just say, hey, we can't afford it. You know, it was easy for him to avoid the conflict. But I think it must be kind of tough if you're somebody who has a lot of resources and you know that your kid knows you can afford it, but you still have to say no. You know what I mean? It's not because I can't, but because I choose not to, you know, satiate your every need or every whim. And that's got to be hard, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's also difficult, but the mastery of that is to somehow, some way, be able to replace it with something else that has true value.
Redirect, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say no. It's say, hey, I've got a better alternative, right? Yeah.
Right.
Sure, totally. And I think that we can all do that for ourselves, too. And, you know, one of the liberating things with working with children's media is you start realizing, like, hey, man, we're all kids in a certain extent, and we're all being kind of swayed and led by our apps and our programming that we might not be willing to admit, you know. But there's a reason why they call it a television program, is because it's programming you how to think and how to deal with things. And, you know, whether it's your local health disaster or your latest political views or whatever, you know, it's like I'll tell you what, I'd be really scared to live on the mainland come 2024. It's going to be an ugly place. I don't see that whole election working out very well. I'm so glad that we live here in Hawaii. We're in our own sovereign nation where, yeah, we're protected by the U.S., but we don't have to worry about too much of its political divisions, I hope, because, it's a scary place right now.
Well, the whole planet is a scary place.
It is. There's
and we had the opportunity to both Mike and I, he's my partner in the radio station, to interview these mother and daughter from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
wow.
and that I mean, that's insane what's going on there. I mean, totally insane. And these women are so nationalistic that you know, ask them certain questions, and you know, the programming that weaves throughout the industry, like you know, it's well, it's divide and conquer. You know, you've got one side that says that the United Nations, they have all of these arms and weapons that are surrounding all of Russia. And then Putin, because of who he is, and I won't get into his personality profile, but he's going, yeah, man, you know, Crimea, which we took back already, and now we want Ukraine. They were part of USSR. And that fight has been going on for the past 8 years, which we don't know about. But now that Putin is invading, and he wants to take it over, now we know about it. Now the Ukrainians are getting a lot of funding from us. And if you remember back when our illustrious president at that time was doing a quid pro quo, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
He was saying, well, you know, you got to do this in order for us to give you that, right? Which was huge. But we don't even think about that anymore, because now we're giving billions of dollars. All of the Western nations, the NATO nations, are like stacking it up. And these poor Ukrainians and these young Russian soldiers that are being drafted are going in to fight. And I see that scenario, and it's so sad. And the comment, the final comment that the daughter gave to me is like, well, you ought to come to Ukraine. It's really beautiful there. And I said, well, that's very kind of you. I don't know if I'd really want to go right now because I really love where I'm at. And I said, and you came here, so obviously they weren't poor by any means. I mean, they could jump on a flight from Ukraine, come to Hawaii for a wedding, and then go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, whenever you come, you're welcome, and just get in touch with me. And I said, well, that's cool. I'd like that. And then she said, but make sure you bring a gun.
Bring a gun.
She
Oh,
said,
wow.
bring a gun. And I thought, well, you ain't going to be seeing me.
Oh, man.
But you see, that's the program. I mean, it's Machiavellian theory. It's divide and conquer. I mean, the Russians, the Ukrainians, I mean, I feel so sad for those people because they're so nationalistic and so paranoid, and they're both wanting to kill each other.
You know what? I will have to say that the nationalism is a program that we all subscribe to on a certain level.
Absolutely.
But that we have to recognize is also something that has to be in our forward, thoughtful mind process to evaluate constantly, because we can't recognize that the media, whether it's going to be the current president's secretary speaking, telling us the truth, or if we're going to accept whatever it is that is on the table at the moment and say, okay, this is important enough for us to take or not. We have to be the ones that reconcile with the facts that we're given and start to be more determined to act on our instinct and recognize that it's important for us to think too.
Well, is it instinct or maybe intuition that we've got to learn? Because instinct is like prey and predator. It's like the dog and the cat. The cat is prey, the dog is a predator, right? And they're gonna
Oh yeah.
instinct, because we have an intelligence and we have a heart, we can like step outside of that realm, which is knee-jerk. I mean, for me, it's like fight or flight. And I don't want to be in that fight or flight anymore. When I was a kid, I was, and that was really stupid. And that's why I did a lot of stupid things and got in a lot of stupid trouble.
Sure.
Because I really didn't have what the things like Neil is teaching kids. Is like, how do I become really involved in myself and really love myself enough to go out into the world and to be able to truly know who I am.
How are we ever going to be happy if we don't know what it is we want? It's like it's amazing how many people I meet that are like, I'm unhappy in my career, or I'm unhappy in where life has led me. And it's like, well, did you stop to consider what you wanted and where you were going? I worked for Rachel's Challenge for a long time. Rachel was killed at Columbine, and one of her great parts of her program was it wasn't an anti-bullying program, but it was more kindness and compassion. And a lot of that kindness and compassion starts with yourself. I think sometimes it's easy to be kind and compassionate toward other people, but we can be really cruel to ourselves in our own view, our true view of ourselves.
Yeah, that's the
right.
Yeah.
You have a capacity for empathy for others, even sometimes, and not for yourself. You don't
Yeah.
give yourself permission to fail,
and that's the oxygen mask. Put it on yourself first, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to help anyone else. And that is so simple. And yet, as you said, we're never taught that.
We're not even asked the appropriate questions. It's like, okay, you got to be ready for college. Go to college and then pick your major and then go get yourself a job. And
Well, and what was really cool is that you mentioned something before to us in regards to your student loan. Would you just say something?
Oh yeah.
about that?
Well, I was saying that I felt naive after
Go
paying
on.
my student loan off. I felt kind of like a fool for doing it now that everybody's getting theirs paid. But not that I'm mad, because I think that there's way too much student debt out there. We need to knock it down a bit. But Yeah. Honestly, if you do the right thing sometimes in this economy, it makes you look like a fool. And my mom, for example, has never had a credit card her whole life. She's never been in credit card
Wow,
debt, but she
really?
like doesn't exist on paper either. When it came time to get a loan to fix her teeth or something, she couldn't because she had been so responsible over her entire life. She'd always paid for. She'd lived within her means so much that in the credit score scheme of things, she didn't exist.
It's ironic how you
And,
can be responsible and still not get the opportunities that
Sure.
just waiting a little bit. I mean, not necessarily patient, but literally waiting for a miracle or maybe a Hail Mary.
Well, that's why we've got to really take it a step out and don't wait for the miracle, be the miracle. I mean, just be it. All these guys like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden and Deepak Chopra are like saying, hey, step up to the plate, man. Do it.
Sure.
On that point, and like what you were saying before about depression, I think it's really important that you do recognize others in your attempt to recognize yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do it alone. You can't get out of depression by sitting at home and saying, all right, let me think about it, let me pray, and get out of that. You can't. You have to go out and recognize the value that is out there in front of you.
Absolutely.
That's why I think this community is so cool. This big island is about community. Once you disconnect, I've seen what can happen to people, and I feel like this is regardless of the big island, but I just think it's important that you recognize the people around you. And once you start kind of minimizing that importance, you're in your own head at that point.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I think depression comes from. It's being in your own head.
Isolation.
Isolation.
Sure.
It's feeling like you're alone, that you have no resources.
Well, think about how common it is on the mainland. Sorry to interrupt you, but to not want to know your neighbor. I saw somebody say that I don't want to know my neighbor. I don't want to know their name. I don't want to have to say hello to them. And it's like, well, isn't that kind of a self-defeating way to live? I mean, I'm not saying you have to be your neighbor's best friend and chop it up with them every night, but like you should at least be aware of who they are, and you should know that if they needed help, that they would turn to you, or that they would ask, or that you could do the same. Like, and I think that that's something on island you start realizing, like, hey, we're all in the same canoe. You can't really run from your problems out here. You can't talk a bunch of smack and then just drive away. No, you have to face your issue here, and I think that's great.
There's a humbling nature to being here on the Big Island.
Oh man, I hope so. I hope you. If you haven't felt that yet, you will. Right? Totally.
It is an island chain, and the beautiful part about this island, I lived on other islands before, but the beautiful part about this one is that she is big. The entire landmass of all the other islands collectively do not meet the landmass of this island.
Not even half.
Yeah. She has 11 of the 13 climate zones, so like you were saying, she can grow anything.
Anywhere plants can grow, yeah.
And she has snow, which is phenomenal. And the other thing that I find is that with an active volcano and with a force that is Pele, and she is one of the supreme goddesses of the Hawaiian pantheon of those gods and goddesses, you've got something that is truly alive. And within that livingness, I just feel that there's great mana. And all we have to do is just breathe into her and feel her and know that she's here for us. And also, from an esoteric point of view, they say that every island is a chakra, and this is first and second chakra. I mean, which is one of the reasons why people will come here and they'll be all flowered out and in their fantasy land and thinking, oh, I'm coming to Hawaii. And then, that Pele energy would say, no, this isn't what you're really after. If you want to be on this island, especially this island, you're going to have to face what it is to know who you are, what you're all about, your survival issues, and what are you going to do about it. And I've seen so many people come here, and she'll just spit you right out. Maybe 6 months. or a year.
Accept or reject, they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We my family and I, we went on a trip for a month and a half. We came back, and on that trip, I was just thinking, I wonder if the island is gonna accept or reject us now. Now that we're coming back, I wonder if there's gonna be a transition for us in recognition of who we are on that island. And we're 12, 13. We're about 12 days back from the island, back to the island, and my wife and I were just talking about how challenging things can be in the current state, just because we're still transitioning into all our responsibilities, homeschooling, and these responsibilities that we need to take as parents, and in financially to keep intact our home and all the things. But it's important for us to recognize that if we have the vision and the support within the community, there's love and recognition for each other, that we're all a part of the story that we're trying to tell. And I'm not feeling pushed away. I'm not feeling like.
Well, I think you'd know if you were. Yeah.
Well, I'm convinced, Aaron, if you thought you would be pushed away, you wouldn't be here right now having this conversation with us. Because this is a conversation that brings us closer and deeper, and we have more respect for this beloved island. And she's calling us to do things. And this is what we're doing.
Yeah. It's definitely really beautiful for all of us to be sitting here in recognition of each other and be in each other's presence, because the phone isn't going to do that. It's not going to give us the opportunity to really connect with each other. Even if we did a FaceTime and we said, "Hey, what's up? How have you been?" You're still on the other side of the island and not actually interacting with the physical body. And I want to know how you're doing. I want to know how like the breath is coming out of you. Are you excited about life? Like, oh man, that's the energy you're bringing to the table. That's cool. It's great for that to be the case. And I'm glad to be back too. I'm glad that we're all here together. But yeah, on that perspective, I think it's totally important for us to recognize each other's value and do that on a personal, one-on-one to one basis.
Yeah, it's so important. And what I'd like to, we're almost to an hour, and what I'd like to do is for each of us to kind of wrap it up and just tell the audience who we are and how they can get in touch with us. Aaron?
Well, Lanuza Productions, you can find that on Facebook, and you can send me a message. So Lanuza Productions, Lanuza Productions. We'll put that as like a little tag on the bottom.
Cool.
But I think we're doing some great content. I think we would love to continue to build that with people who are in the community, trying to recognize the importance of what we're all cultivating for each other and with each other. And
beautiful.
That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, well, anyone wants to know more about Mr. Neil, Hip Hop for Families, can check me out online. It's Mr. MRKNEEL, like Neil on your knee.com. And you can see I'm going to be at the Hawaii Keiki Children's Museum that we're just about to open here in October 10th. The grand opening, I'll be performing at that. Hopefully I'll be at some of these festivals here coming up at the Nut Fest in November, and the Manifest in December. That's awesome. I like that name. And I have a little bit of a sponsorship with the University of Hawaii, so they've been kind enough to send me to 6 islands, and I've got to perform on over a dozen times on Oahu even already. And we'll be back there a couple times in October doing more stuff. So certainly willing to travel far and wide across Hawaii to try to reach kids, and have all kinds of programming from character development to healthy lifestyle choices to science fiction and fun with comic books. So, I had some people on the mainland ask me to do a human rights presentation virtually last year, and it ended up becoming a comic book presentation because all these qualities of what it means to be a superhero in life are something that you can apply to comic books and things that I learned from comics growing up. And so what good is it to have a superpower if you're not using it for something super,
Absolutely.
to do
Yeah.
something positive in the world? It doesn't do you any good to have a skill and talent if you're not applying it to something positive. So appreciate you guys using your skills and talents to try to help me reach more kids. And check me out at mrneal.com. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. And I'm Randyl Rupar, and as I said previously, I just am thrilled that we can come together, do these things, put forth to our beloved island of Hawaii as well as the entire world our plans. And I've always had big, grandiose plans. And, sometimes I get shot down because I'm not supposed to be able to do them. Yet, it's not how many times I've been shot down, it's how many times I get up. You've heard that adage. And I keep on getting up and doing things which I feel are important. And again, money's always going to be an issue, and how do you pull it off? And as I was saying, that's mastery. I mean, how am I challenged to make this work? How can I get enough money to make this happen?
Yet so many times you pull it off.
It inevitably has happened, and I want to keep on going. So if you are free, come to the Going Nuts Festival. That's November 5th, Saturday, at Hawaii, which is downtown, Ali'i Drive. And then in the evening, we're going to have another another fundraiser for our radio station, because radio stations cost money. And I already have Hawaii, so I felt, well, go on. You've already got the insurance. You got everything. Just keep it going, man. So I have surprise musicians, because I never know who's going to show up, and yet they're always cool. And we've got the best talent on the island, and I just want to be able to promote that and let people know that we exist. And then December 10th, the Manifest Festival for the Big Island, our economy, and our wellness. So mahalo, everyone. I love you guys, love you, and let's just keep the love flowing.
Yeah. All right.